the stone that turned luck around. Deep in the northern mountains, where paths disappear into eternal mist, lived a young man named Riku. His life seemed marked by an endless streak of misfortune. His crops withered without reason, rains came at the wrong times, and everything he attempted twisted into failure. One afternoon, after watching an unexpected storm destroy his small garden, Riku fell to his knees and whispered to the sky, "What have I done to deserve such bad luck?" That night, in a dream, he heard a soft voice, almost a whisper, "Walk east for 3 days. At the foot of Mount Horizon, you will find what you seek." At dawn, without hesitation, Riku set off on the journey, carrying a small bag of rice and hope, the last survivor of his misfortune, as his only companions. The first day was calm, though the wind blew against him. On the second day, a snake crossed his path but did not bite. On the third day, upon reaching the foot of the marked mountain, he found something unexpected. An old man sitting on a rock, patiently carving a round stone. The old man didn't look at him. He only said, "If you've come seeking fortune, sit down. But first, let go of your story of bad luck. Here it serves no purpose." Riku looked at him, confused. Let go of his story? But something in the old man's gaze, or perhaps in the surrounding silence, made him stay, and so began a turn that would change his destiny. Riku sat down in front of the old man. Mount Horizon lay asleep under a gentle mist, as if the entire landscape was silently listening. "How do I let go of a story?" the young man asked. The old man carved without pause. The stone in his hands was plain, rough, shapeless. Without taking his eyes off it, he said, "Tell it once, then never repeat it again, neither inside you nor outside. Don't feed it. Don't use it as an excuse. Let it die in the air." Riku swallowed hard. Then he spoke. He told how his father had disappeared one winter night, how his mother fell ill and left, giving him nothing but a blanket and a small seed. He spoke of harsh winters, pitying looks, and all the things he tried and failed. Words he had been repeating to himself for years, over and over, like an endless lament. The old man didn't interrupt. He just kept carving. When Riku finished, he felt something loosen inside his chest, as if an invisible stone had rolled out from within. "What now?" he asked quietly. For the first time, the old man lifted his gaze. His eyes were serene, like a windless lake. "Now that you've let go of your story, you're ready to create a new one." He placed the stone he had carved into Riku's hands. It was perfectly round, smooth, light. "What do I do with this?" Riku asked. "Whenever you think bad luck is coming back, turn it over in your palm. But remember, it's not the stone that changes your fate. It's the silence you've left inside yourself." Riku held the stone in his hands. It bore no inscriptions, no shine, no sign of power. It was just a smooth stone. But there was something about it, something that didn't come from the stone itself, but from the moment it was given to him. "What if I fail again?" he asked quietly. "We fail when we insist the world must be the way we want it to be," the old man replied. "But life isn't about control. It's about listening. Bad luck doesn't exist. Only resistance does." Riku frowned. "So everything that happened to me wasn't bad luck?" The old man shook his head calmly. "It was life. Life teaching you without frills. When you call it bad luck, you reject it. And what you reject persists." A silence stretched between them. The wind blew softly. Riku closed his eyes. For the first time, instead of thinking about everything he had lost, he felt something different. Gratitude. Gratitude for still walking, for having come this far, for that stone without promises that somehow held the echo of a forgotten truth. The old man stood up. Now go. Don't return to the same place with the same eyes. Riku stood. There were no maps, no instructions, no blessings. Just a round stone and the memory of words that didn't need repeating. And he began his journey back. But this time, everything was different. The journey back was the same. The same curves, the same slopes, the same path covered in dry leaves. But something had changed. It wasn't the landscape. It was Riku. Where he once saw obstacles, he now saw pauses. Where he once felt anxiety, there was now space. He walked unhurriedly, turning the stone in his palm from time to time, like someone remembering without attachment. In the village, no one immediately noticed the change. The houses remained the same, the people the same, and the hardships still there. One of the beams in his hut had given way, and the remains of his garden were still there, dry and broken. But Riku didn't sigh. He didn't curse. He rolled up his sleeves calmly and, before doing anything, sat in silence with the stone in his hands. He remembered the old man's words. It's not the stone that changes your fate. It's the silence you've created within yourself. And in that silence, something emerged. Clarity. He decided to start with one corner of the garden, not everything at once. He planted only a few seeds. He watered without expecting miracles. He fixed the beam with what he had, without complaining about what was missing. And so, day by day, what he had once called bad luck began to transform into gentle lessons. Or maybe they always were, and he was only just beginning to hear them. The earth began to respond. Small shoots sprouted from soil that once seemed barren. The rains no longer felt like threats, but necessary visits. Even the birds, which once avoided his garden, returned to sing near his home. One day, while drawing water from the well, a neighbor approached and said, "Riku, you have a different face. Has something good happened to you?" He smiled. "Nothing has happened to me, but I've started to see things differently." The woman frowned, not fully understanding, but Riku didn't explain. It wasn't necessary. Everyone sees through the lens of the story they haven't yet let go. At night, Riku continued turning the stone in his hand before sleep. Not as a talisman, but as a reminder. He didn't need luck, just presence, just silence. And he understood something profound. Bad luck was nothing more than the noise he himself had placed between what happened and how he interpreted it. Now, when something went wrong, he would breathe, turn the stone, and think, "This too has its place, even if I don't understand it." Over time, others began to notice his peace. They asked for advice, invited him to share tea, but he would only respond calmly. "I didn't change my fate. I stopped fighting it." And in that space, without struggle, everything began to flow. One morning, while Riku was gathering firewood on the edge of the forest, he found a young man sitting on a rock, head bowed, murmuring bitterly. His clothes were worn, and his eyes shadowed. "Everything goes wrong for me," he said. "I work, but it's never enough. I help, but no one helps me. The world is against me." Riku saw himself reflected in the young man. He quietly approached and sat beside him without a word. He took the stone from his pocket and began turning it slowly between his fingers. The young man looked at him, curious. "What are you doing?" "I'm listening to the silence," Riku replied. "And does that help?" Riku smiled but said nothing. He simply extended the stone toward him. The young man took it hesitantly, as if expecting magic. "There's nothing special about it," he said. "Exactly," Riku said. "Like life. Only when we stop demanding it be special does it start to reveal itself." The young man looked at him without fully understanding, but something inside him loosened, like a rope releasing tension. Then Riku spoke softly, Tell me your story, but tell it once, then let it go." The young man hesitated, then began to speak, just as Riku had done long ago. And in the air of that clearing, beneath the trees, a new story was beginning to be born. When the young man finished speaking, the forest held a moment of deep silence. Not a single leaf stirred, as if even nature had listened to his pain with respect. Riku took the stone and placed it back into the young man's hand. "It's no longer just a stone," he said. "It's the end of what your past told you, and the beginning of what you choose to tell from now on." The young man looked at it quietly, and for the first time he didn't complain or protest. He simply took a deep breath, as if inside, an old armor made of complaints, blame, and guilt was melting away. "What if I fall again?" he asked. "Then remember, there is no bad luck, only experiences that come unwrapped." Riku said goodbye without offering more advice. He didn't need to be followed or remembered as a wise man. His mission was simple: to leave a mark that frees, not binds. On the way home, he thought of the old man from Mount Horizon. Maybe he was no longer there. Maybe he was just a symbol of the moment when one grows tired of being a victim, and the soul calls to awaken. He turned his stone one last time, and he understood. Luck doesn't change when the world changes, but when you no longer need to call it luck. Riku grew old without drawing much attention. He was never rich, never famous, but his garden bloomed every spring. His home stayed warm every winter, and his calm heart stopped measuring days by what he gained or lost. Sometimes, in the village square, the younger ones would approach him to ask if he had a secret for good luck. And he, with his peaceful smile, would reply, "I just learned not to call it bad." He still carried the stone in his pocket, though he hardly turned it anymore. Not because it had lost its value, but because the silence that made it powerful now lived inside him. And so, when his last night came calm, without pain or drama, he placed it on a table beside his bed, with the moonlight gently caressing its smooth surface. He left no riches, but something rarer, a small circle of people who, whenever things didn't go their way, instead of cursing fate, simply closed their eyes, took a deep breath, and whispered to themselves, "After this, I will never face bad luck the same way again." And so, without promising miracles, Riku's legacy kept rolling. Like a stone, like a gentle turn, like an inner change no one can take away.